Today we are looking at chapter 6 of my book called Walking the Line, Embracing the Imperatives of Jesus. And this chapter is called An Anchored Faith. I'm reminded of a statement from Karl Barth, who writes that faith is a history new every morning. Like that. Faith is a history new every morning, meaning that it can't be our relationship with God just something from the past. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I came into relationship with God. We use the language of conversion, and we keep looking back to that point without continuing that to keep our faith going deeper. So Bart is saying faith is a new walk with God each step of the way. It's not just a point in our history. It's a new history every day. So it can't be just something distant. It's also an ongoing reality, and that's what this chapter is about. And Jesus here makes a statement in Matthew 21, 18 to 22, whatever you ask for in prayer with faith, you will receive. Whatever you ask for in prayer with faith, you will receive. So in the context there, Jesus is exhorting his disciples that we are to have this ongoing relationship with God, and it centers on these two aspects of faith and prayer. Whatever you ask for in faith through prayer, you will receive. Very positive statement. So faith has to do with our understanding of God, our meaning with God. Faith is how we find meaning. Faith is the framework, if you like, that we come to God through. So we have faith in Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It's this reality that gives us a sense of meaning and purpose. So we are to come to God in this sense of faith, this sense of rest, the sense of meaning. And then with that, through prayer, we enter into this conversation with God, knowing that God is there and he's with us, he travels with us. We are companions with Christ on the way. We are interacting with God through faith and in prayer. So chapter 6 is exploring those dynamics. So we live in a world, obviously right now with COVID, it's a strenuous time. A lot of people have been impacted, and there's a lot of loss. Here in our own faith community, a member passed just this week through COVID, and it was, it's a real sense of loss. And we cry out to God, why, right? We have these questions. So there's a heaviness to it. And it can bring us down. So, in the diving world, I talk about periodically, you put on weights, you wear weights, and the weights bring you down. You're very buoyant at the surface, and you need to get down, but these weights will carry you down and keep pushing you down and down and down if you don't have something to balance it with. So what balances those weights? What's a counterbalance? And the counterbalance, as a diver, you wear a vest called a BCD, and you inflate air from your tank, and then that kind of brings you back up, and you stabilize. And so for us, faith and prayer, I would suggest to us, are aspects of that counterbalance. Faith in God, finding our meaning in God, and our prayer and conversation are those dimensions that bring us back up, that they are a resistance, if you like, against the ennui of our age, and the apathy, and, feeling out of it and frustration, that we often carry. Prayer and faith buoy us back up. And so an anchored faith and trust in God, in Jesus, in his word, for what he has to say to us and be in us as we journey with him. An anchored faith. A year ago, Rob and I, a friend of mine, were We're diving in the Turks and Caicos. And we went out on a whole day trip to visit and dive on this wreck. And it was actually a great big British warship that sank in the Turks in the late 1700s, hit an unmarked shoal, and this great ship went down. And one of the purposes of the dive were to dive and find these 4 big anchors that were part of the ship, these massive anchors. And when we came to them, they were huge, 12, 15 feet long. They were big. They were coral encrusted. And they've been there for 250 years. And all the hurricanes that have come by have not moved these anchors. And so we are to have an anchored faith, and that is we go down deep in Jesus, and he is our anchor. Faith and prayer together keep us anchored, finding our meaning in Jesus and going to God through prayer, through Christ, through the Holy Spirit, keep us strengthened and bring us back up. And so chapter 6 then looks at this anchored faith, explores these aspects of faith and prayer, and I pray that we can think about those things a bit more. Maybe the chapter can be a help to you as you desire to get strengthened and to be connected and to have Christ as your anchor. That's what this chapter is about. We'll see you later.